Hey guys, how you all going? And today I'm going to be doing a bit of a different type of video. It's still going to be Raw related, football related, but it's something a bit different. So the season's finished and everyone's probably thinking, what are you going to do now the season's finished? And my brother even asked me that, and a few of my friends asked me that, what are you going to do? And I thought, I don't know actually. And then I'm like, actually, you're probably thinking, who is this random person that's complaining about the Raw or complaining about all these things going on with the Raw or giving me transfer news and stuff like that? But you don't really know a lot about me. So this video is a little bit about me and a bit of a Q&A as to what I am and who I am actually, and what I love about the Raw, Football Australia, and everything like that. So let's get into it. So I started off with, how did I start following / playing football? So when I was young, I was probably about 6-7 years old, and my mum and dad enrolled me into it's a PCYC, so it's like indoor sports center, and I basically just played like casually with my brother and I, like playing indoor soccer or indoor football or futsal or whatever, just like casually, not competitively, just to get taught how to play and just to do something. And then I really enjoyed doing that. I think we used to do that every Wednesday night, and then after school we go there and kick the ball around at the courts for like an hour or so. And then I got really into it, and then and then they're like, oh, let's go play for clubs. So found a club, and I've actually been at the same club since I was that age there, and I'm now 21. So it's just a great club to play for that I play for. And yeah, so that's basically how I got into it. It's just like, we wanted to get me into some sport, fell in love with football straight away, and here I am now still playing at 2021. So I sort of asked to answer that question. I'll also try to, if I can, and work out how to put the questions on the screen so you do remember instead of if you can't understand my voice. So the next question was something I sort of already answered, was how old was I when I started playing football? For club, I was 7 turning 8, but I actually might have been even 5, 6 when I was just playing at the PCYC. But yeah, that's the answer to that question. So the next question is, what was my first experience with Brisbane Roar? So it came between the ages of 9, 10 or 11. And it was when I was in the team with my current coach that I have had as a coach for a long time. Like between that time, there was a little bit of a time frame where he wasn't actually my coach because I was on a different team. But in saying that, he and the manager of the team got us involved in a soccer breakup for the end of the season, where we get to go to Suncorp Stadium and go on the field as mascots. So we get to go on walk on with the players, and that was against Adelaide United at a home game. So I'll see if I can search up to find out what actually season that was, and I can't remember if we won or not, but it was the first experience, and I got to walk out at Suncorp. The first time I've been to Suncorp, walk out on the field with the players, such a surreal experience. It was a season opener, so we had quite a few fans there as well, so it was a really awesome experience. And that's my first experience with the Brisbane Roar. So when do I start following the Brisbane Roar hardcore? And what I mean by hardcore is going to every game, making sure I'm keeping up to date with the team, following the team every week in, week out, watching every game, either in my home or away. And when did I start? Probably 4 or 5 seasons ago, when I started watching it hardcore. And the main reason that I did start watching it hardcore and going to games is because of my mate Alfie, so thank you for that. I found someone that's in love with football as much as I am, and someone that is my mate that I played with as well, in my actual team, and he just gave me another reason to go to games and had the same sort of a passion I have for football. So Alfie, thank you for being the fan that you are and the friend you are today, because that you are the reason that I support the Raw as much as I do. So I sort of just answered the same question in with the other one. I'm good at doing that, aren't I? The question is, what made me fall in love with the Raw and what kept me coming back? So the answer I sort of gave before was, I guess, finding like the sport anyway. I love playing the sport, and it's been a part of my life for a long time. Finding a team and finding a person to go with that team that's as passionate as you made me love the Raw and love it and keep coming back, because through football, it's heartbreak, it's enjoyment, it's excitement, it's sadness, it's everything part of the game that you love, the world game, the beautiful game that is football. And Alfie was a big part of that, making me go to games, not making me, but like giving me a reason to go to the games and be passionate about the Raw, because I found someone that was so much passionate about the Raw as much as I was. So once again, thank you for that, Alfie, and you're a big part of me following the Raw to the extent that I am today. How long have I been a Brisbane Roar member for? So I believe it's my 3rd season this year it was, and since I started like going to the Raw membership, it's sort of gone a little bit lower and a little bit lower on the table we've been. But in saying that, I've had an amazing time. I've been in the den every single season, and it's been epic. Like I was always sort of like, my parents sort of were like, oh, it's football hooliganism. No, they weren't actually saying that, but they were sort of a bit worried because I didn't really have anyone to go with at the start, and I wanted to go to active support. And you always hear bad things on the news, that the news portrays soccer hooligans, football hooligans as like they're really bad, and like especially like active support and stuff like that, going crazy and starting fights and stuff like that. It's really not like that. Like, I remember putting up a post in the Brisbane Roar supporter page saying, "Oh, it's my first ever game at Suncorp. Oh, first ever game in active support. Parents are a little bit worried. Anyone there to help me out and be there?" And a lot of people come around me and like were there for me and like supported me through it. And for that, I'm really appreciated for the den for doing that for me, as well as like the people in the den that really helped me out, Jacob and Priyank and all the den capos and stuff like that. Really amazing people, and then really made me feel at home at Suncorp Stadium in the den. So this question here is probably really relevant to this season because a lot of people are asking it. What do you think the reason is why the Brisbane Roar didn't do as well this season? And there's a lot of factors to that. I mean, 1, the recruitment wasn't very good. 2, we had a lot of injuries. And 3, like we had a lot of like up and down with managerial roles. What's going on? Aloisi leaving, Darren Davies into interim coach, and then like ended up being there for the whole season. So that was really like a bit of a like players don't know what's going on, and also that because of a lot of injuries, a lot of different partnerships during the team formed, and that caused like when especially in defense. I play defense in real life. If you're having to play with so many different players and so many different partnerships, it sort of like breaks the cohesion that you had. So if we had like Papadopoulos and Devere, when fit, probably arguably our 2 best centre backs we had at the start of the season, I don't think they probably even played a game together this season, just because when Devere was frozen out by the club, I say, but and Papadopoulos was injured or left, we had a lot of we had a lot of partnerships into the back line, and Jacob Pepper, who originally was a centre back, ended up playing the most games in centre back and defence out of everyone in the team. So that just shows something that we had a lot of injuries, and everything starts at the back. And if we can't concede, even though if we can score as many goals as we can, if we're conceding more, we're obviously not going to do too well. So the injuries didn't help, but in saying that, hopefully for this season, we have no injuries, fingers crossed. We signed some amazing players on a Fowler, and the team just clicks, and we get going with the season very well. And I wasn't trying to click then, but I can if you want. Then just click it right there. So a lot of people ask me, why am I so optimistic that we can do what next season after the season that we had? And for me, there's a lot of reasons that we can. We had a lot of passenger players that people were saying that they're just there, they're not really good enough to play for the Roar, but because they're contracted, we sort of had to play them, and they're not playing to the extent that we need to have Roar players playing. So I guess with Fowler, the people that weren't on a contract or weren't offered a new contract is gone now, so it's been a big clean out. Fowler's can bring in some players that he reckons that will be a good player for the team, as well as they will probably want to prove to the Roar fans and prove to Fowler, being a Liverpool legend, that they can be the real deal. So I feel like Fowler will bring in a lot of good players, and the Roar players that are there now want to try to prove to Fowler that they are there for the long run, and they need to be signed up for another long-term deal. So I feel like the current players that are there now will definitely be trying their heart out so much to try to impress Fowler in the off-season when they start training again, as well as during the season, to make sure they get another deal, because for them, it's their job and it's their love for the game that will hopefully bring them to be a quality player that the Roar needs. So what positions and players would be your ideal signings? So I have done a video, cheeky plug to that. If you want to go, click on the link in the description, and I might even put an annotation somewhere on the screen to go back to my video from last week where I did the transfer target video, and I talked about the players there. So if you want to go watch that in the full extent of players, the full players that we'll be able to sign, whether they be starters or bench players or reserves and stuff like that, I did a full extended video of a full 23-man squad for the players that we had, plus new signings. But for me, I'll do a quick answer for that now. My number 1 signing that we got to sign is at least 1, if not 2, centre-backs. So the 1 signing I want us to sign in the A-League anyway is Bart Scheckenfeld, a rock at the back, player of the year for a defence anyway. Like he was the best defender of the year. Once Marky wages, hopefully we can throw him at him, because I feel like he would definitely be a brilliant player for us. Our other Marky that I'm hoping a lot of people won't really know is Toze. He's currently playing in the Portuguese league, and I really hope that we do sign him. He's an attacking midfielder / central midfielder, and he'll be a brilliant signing. But other positions that we can sign as well is maybe another experienced attacker, some more midfielders, and maybe one more experienced centre-back that we can have to bolster our team and have that brilliant spine that we once did have at one stage. The next question is, what are my thoughts on moving to a smaller stadium? And a lot of people are for the idea. A lot of people are sort of against the idea because I guess for the reason that people are against the idea is Suncorp's been a home for the Brisbane Roar since they've started, or Lang Park, as some people still call it for some reason, even though it isn't Suncorp. It is called Suncorp now. But and there's been a lot of history at Suncorp. You look at the crowds, you look at the stadium, 52,000 seat stadium with 15,000 at the most. It doesn't look very good. And saying that if we were to move to a 20 to 30,000 seat stadium, that would be brilliant, because even if it's half full, the atmosphere is going to be so much better than in a 52,000 seater stadium with a 10 to 15,000 seater crowd. So we've seen it with like Cogra and some other games this season when Sydney's packed out a small stadium, even with NIB with Perth pack out a stadium there. And what they're doing for the grand final anyway, especially, is playing at Optus Stadium. Currently today, as I'm seeing this, they've sold 45,000 seats. So I feel like Suncorp definitely will let us do that if we make a grand final to have us play at Suncorp. But for every other game, I feel like if we play somewhere similar size to Perry Park would be a good stadium that we can play at if they can build it up to a bigger stadium. Redcliffe Dolphin Stadium as well. I would love to see us play some games there instead of at Suncorp, because I mean the rent is so much higher at Suncorp that we basically run at a loss playing at Suncorp. So I don't know, I can't remember how long we contracted for at Suncorp, but I really hope that in the future, especially if we do get the 2023 bid for the Women's World Cup, I'll leave a link into that in the description as well to go vote for the Women's World Cup as well. I'll talk about that maybe in the future of this video, of the bid for Australia, because they need to build some more stadiums in Australia, and a Brisbane Boutique Stadium where the Roar can play out of, that Matildas can play out of, and other games can be played out of if we get the World Cup in Australia for the women. It will be a brilliant stadium. It will be a brilliant stadium for the Roar to play in if we can get a boutique stadium in between 20 to 30,000 seats. So the next question is, what do you believe the A-League and the Roar can do to make the future in Australian football better? So for me, the future means the future. So, and that might sound stupid, but in saying that, the future is the younger kids and the grassroots football. And for me, if you want players that are young to follow the Roar, to follow the A-League, you need to give them an incentive to go. You need to give them an incentive to go, for the parents to be like, oh, they're giving us free tickets because we play in Football Brisbane, or we play in the Baptist League, we play in the Christian Soccer Association. Like, every league around Brisbane, players that are under maybe say the age of 10, 15 should be able to get free tickets or very much discounted tickets. Being a player of football or soccer, whatever you call it, in Brisbane, if we really want the A-League to succeed, I know the Broncos have done it in the past where players that are playing in Brisbane that are under the age of 11 get season tickets for free, or get so many games for free. If we want the season, and if we want the A-League and we want the Roar to succeed, we want to be giving the younger kids incentives and the best chance at following the football, falling in love with football like I have. Like, it might have just been luck that we decided to go to the Brisbane Roar and be a mascot. It might have been luck that Alfie came over from England and was living in the area that I was playing in, and I met him, and then we ended up being good mates and going to games like that. It's little things like that that cause you to love the football and love the game and love the Roar and love the A-League and love Australian football. And we just need to make more opportunities for more moments like that to happen. So if younger kids can be given the chance to get free tickets, cheaper tickets to lots of games in the A-League if they live in the same area as a team. So say Adelaide, people that play football in Adelaide, no matter what league you play in, if you're under the age of say 15 or 11 or 10 or 13 or whatever like that, whatever they decide to do, get given free tickets for the season or for 5 games in a season. It's going to boost the crowd numbers. It might have the A-League come at a loss, but in the future it will definitely bring up football in Australia to be better than it is now, and hopefully a future that we want to see us succeed. So this question sort of links in with the last question I was just talking about, is what are your current thoughts on Australian football and the future expectations? So my current thoughts on Australian football is the league's moving up, which is good. Australian footballers are moving overseas and getting game time in the Premier League or Bundesliga and stuff like that, but there are so many players that are moving to clubs overseas, like Kwame Yeboah and Jem McLaren. Like, Jem McLaren made a good move to Hibs and was playing a great season and then fell out and then come back to Australia because it's safe and he knew he'll get game time. But for us, younger players like Zach Duncan, Joe Coletti, that are probably moving overseas, maybe a bit too young and probably going to get not a lot of game time over there, we need to get a better system in place to keep hold of youth players and keep hold of academy players, so then we can bring them up into Australian football. And I know that as a young player you want to try to get a chance to move to Europe. And some people like Dylan Halls is probably smart enough. He probably had offers to probably go overseas, but he's probably smart enough to go, I'm playing at Brisbane Roar. I'm going to be probably starting striker next season for them. I'm banging in goals. I'm really young. Let me stay at the Roar for another 2 seasons, then maybe think of a big move to Premier League or La Liga or Bundesliga or something like that, where you're going to get game time instead of moving to a team to play at, let's say, let me think of a person that's done it in the past. I'll go back to Kwame Yeboah. Kwame Yeboah went from the Roar after he played a few games off the bench, started a few games, played really well. A lot of people will probably remember him for the capoeira, the backflip or whatever he did, where he landed on the side and he sort of went like that when he scored and landed on his belly. But he had a pretty good season for the Roar off the bench and was looking really lively and like a really good player. Went overseas, played a lot of games in the reserve team, never broke the first team, moved to a lot of like German divisions in Div 3 at Paderborn and stuff like that, and he just wasn't getting game time, and he decided to come back to Australia. And I feel like that's got to be a lot of the players are doing these days. They're moving back to Australia because they're not getting game time overseas. So we need to sort of try to get the younger players to stay in the A-League and a reason to stay in the A-League, and we need to try to, I know Central Coast Mariners do it a lot where they are, and you see it in Premier League a lot, they have feeder teams or they have youth development teams where they do that. And a lot of teams don't do that because they're trying to push for the title, but in saying that, we do need to try to give the younger Australians an opportunity to play a lot more in the Australian A-League and give them a more chance to stay in the A-League instead of being poached from other teams around the world and even other teams in the A-League, because players like Zach Duncan, which might be on a scholarship deal or could have been offered a scholarship deal, even on that, he's not guaranteed a spot to stay in the Brisbane Roar, because if someone comes in and says, say Melbourne Victor come in and they're like, oh, we'll offer Zach Duncan a full senior deal, he's sort of able to go, which is sort of like the youth system's a bit stuffed up in Australia, but in saying that, we need to fix that up. Future expectations, we seem to make the World Cup every year, and there's 32 teams in the World Cup, or there was anyway before they upgraded the amount of teams in the World Cup, but we always seem to be outside of the top 32 to make the World Cup. So if we can make the top 32, that's, I feel like, it's a realistic expectation, and also one that will make us see not as a laughing stock, oh look, they made the World Cup and they're not even in the top 32 in the world and there's only 32 teams in the World Cup. It's sort of like a bit like, do you deserve to be here? Like the top 32 teams realistically should be in the World Cup, but in saying that, I know a lot of teams are European that get beaten by other European teams in the top 32 to knock some teams out. So it's understandable, but in saying that, we need to be up there in the top 32, even top 20 and top 10 eventually. Probably a bit out of our league, but in saying that, top 32, top 20, I feel like is in our range. So I feel like I really hope we can get there in the next 10 to 20 years. It is a long time away, but it is a realistic goal. So I will put a photo up, and I'll say here, and it's a photo that I found that came up on my Facebook memories probably like a month ago or so, or actually no, probably a couple weeks ago, and it is football is my religion. And why I said that, and that was probably, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago it came up, and for me it's my passion and it's what I love, and I am religious, I am Christian, I don't go to church, but I am baptized it and I do believe in God. In saying that though, football is my religion. Like it's what I do, it's what I love doing, it's what I love to follow. And in Australia, whether you're staying up to 5 a.m. or waking up early to 5 a.m. to watch the Champions League, or you're watching the Premier League week in, week out, the stuff like that is what I love to do. And I don't get a chance to do it enough, but in saying that, it is what I love to do. Whether it's be a big Champions League game, or it be a Premier League game where Liverpool might win the league, or Man City might win the league, I'll bring both of them up at the same time and watch it both at the same time to see all the emotions that everyone's going through. I go through so many like emotions when going through football. You have the good, the bad, the ugly, the brilliant, the amazing, the sad. You go through so many experiences when you go through football, and it's just what makes me love football so much. So I've got 2 questions left. The second last one is, what do I think of the new teams in the A-League? And for me, MacArthur FC, which just got announced today, and I'll put the logo up here if I can, and they look like they'll be called the Bulls, like as a nickname. I love it how they've got the idea of FC, because it sounds like Chelsea FC, Manchester United, teams like that don't have the made up names or the real parody type names of like Brisbane Roar, even though it is our culture and I wouldn't change it for the world now. In saying they would have loved us to be Brisbane FC or Brisbane United or something like that back in the day. So it is a good start for them. Western United, the team that's coming in next season, are building a really good team, and a lot of people are saying, oh, they're recycling players, but in saying that, it's sort of hard not to, especially if you're a new team, and players are thinking, new team, new start, chance to make history, chance to be in there with the new team and make history as their first ever team, and it gives a lot of people a fresh start. So I feel like it is going to be a really a good thing for the A-League, and I would love to see us get some more teams in the future into the A-League and some more eventually promotion relegation. But in saying that, there aren't very many teams currently in the MPL that can move up, that is financially stable to move up. So yeah, in saying that, I'd love to see it happen in the future though. And the last question sort of ties into the last question, what I just said then, was what are you hoping for in the future of Australian football? And I'll give us a, let's say 10-year goal. I feel like in 10 years we can get the competition up to 16 teams, possibly with no relegation promotion at that stage. So that's 10 more years to get, or actually no, I reckon 10 more years we should be able to get promotion, relegation, and we should be able to get a 16 league competition. And with the 6 team, I don't think we definitely shouldn't go more than 6 teams in the finals. For me anyway, finals should really be top 4, because currently you can have teams that make the finals that win about the same as they lose. So they could be the champions of the league, but they basically won. They could even lose more games than win, and then sometimes still make the final. So it is a bit crazy like that. But in saying that, I'd love to see us eventually get a 16 league team with promotion, relegation, and some teams in most of the regions of Australia. So Canberra still needs a team. I feel like Tasmania wouldn't mind another Tasmanian team. Sorry, I would love to see another Brisbane team come in. So Brisbane City or Brisbane Strikers eventually move up to the A-League. What other teams would I like to see? I wouldn't mind us seeing another team in Wellington or another team in New Zealand. Even though it is the A-League, it would give them a chance to have a derby, as well as us to have another team to go across to, and have another team come across here into our shores. So yeah. And for Australian football, we'd love to see us get a really good youth system in place. They got rid of the AIS, which is, for me, unbelievably stupid, because a lot of players these days came through the AIS and were brought up to play football and taught football through there. So for me, I don't know why they've got rid of it, but in saying that, I'd love to see them bring it back, and that's where our youth football needs to grow, because our future needs to be the youth and the current, and really highly demand on the youth, because in saying that, the future is ours to build. And if we can put a lot of money into football in Australia and building the youth system up, we can hopefully bring players in, a lot more players that are the quality of the Aaron Moyes, the Matt Leckies, the Tim Cahills, the Millian, players like that come through a lot more through our academies that we may not know. Like Tom Rogic wasn't given a chance in the A-League because of where he lived. It was only because of a Nike academy that he got a chance to go and play. Because he's from Canberra, there wasn't any teams in Canberra. There definitely should be. It's the capital of Australia. But in saying that, he wasn't really given any opportunity because he lived in Canberra. Not many people were looking for a team in Canberra and players in Canberra. He got a chance at the Nike Academy, and then now he's going playing over in Celtic and is a big part of the Australian national team. So for me, yeah, that's my Q&A done. If you want me to see me do something in the future like this, that may be a bit more about like me instead of being about football, let me know. And also let me know in the comments any thoughts that you had on my video, as well as any other ideas that you might want to see me do while the off-season is for the Brisbane Roar scene. The A-League is almost finished, but for the Roar, it is finished, so unfortunately it is. I would love to see us beat in the grand final this year, but unfortunately that is not the case. But next season I am positive, and I hope that we can do well. But anyway, yeah, hit the like button if you liked the video. Subscribe so you don't miss a video. I never say it, but hit the little notification bell so you're the first person to be notified about when I upload a new video. Normally it is 6 PM on a Thursday, so Australian Standard Time. So if you're always waiting for a video and wondering when it is, if I have uploaded a video, it probably is uploaded then, unless there is technical issues. But yeah, it's been Socceroos. I hope you like this video. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace. Those stories, I'm a fool for your love.